18th, 2022. And we're going to spend up to 45 minutes talking about garbage and recycling. And composting. And composting, maybe, ish. Well, we'll talk about it. Who wants to lead off, Keith?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Tonight we have with us Chris Bell and Craig Sheldon remotely, and they're going to kick us off on continue our discussion that we started a few weeks ago on this subject. So, Chris, I'll turn it over to you and Craig.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you very much. I see Cindy in the back there. Oh, and I see Kristen too. I see what you.
Hi.
Brought in the muscle. I don't. Do you? We worked on a presentation this afternoon. Do you want me to pull that up and kind of walk through it real quick?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I'm going to try to see here.
There was a lot of questions answered. So over the last couple of weeks, or asked and answered. So Chris, we can just stay on that. Some of the presentation is similar to what you'd seen, but also Kristen would like to talk about the actual two new programs they're wanting to do at the end.
Let's see here, slideshow. Okay, can you all see this? Because I can't see, I can just see this presentation. So this is kind of a pickup where we left off back on, I believe, September 20th. And council had a significant amount of questions. And so hopefully I answered them because myself and Kristen and Eric worked on those to provide you the information necessary. So hopefully you can make a decision tonight. If you recall, when current rates that are in place were implemented on January 2022, and there was a small increase on the carts that ranged from 3.3 to 4.7%, container rates by a little bit over 2%, and drop box by $3 per haul. And primarily the biggest driver on those increased costs were the cost of disposal. And the disposal that you guys pay for ran through Pride Recycling, the transfer station there in Sherwood. And there are two primary costs associated with it, the transport and disposal costs. And those costs are typically increased by contractual agreements that Pride has with the transportation company and the disposal, the landfill, and minor increases for their operation. But the bigger influence on what Pride has to charge, in addition to those, is Metro. And Metro does two things. Number one, they assess a tax and a fee on all garbage disposed in the Portland metropolitan area. And the other thing they do that is not really known to a lot of people is they regulate the amount of tons that can be accepted by any of the transfer stations. So Pride may have a big transfer station that could accept 200,000 tons, but Metro regulates the amount of tons that they can take in on an annual basis. And that does have an impact on your rates in Sherwood, as well as other haulers who utilize private transfer stations. So, and if I recall, Councilor Rosner has been very engaged in Metro, as well as other members of the city council. So wanted to get that out there.
Chris, quick question.
Yes.
And the way they do that is they claim a certain percentage of the loads to go to their transfer stations, correct?
Yep.
Correct. You know, the one thing too that's a little, and this is my opinion, you know, that the most profitable loads are those from the collection, from the regular route collection, because they can get in, dump, and be done. Self haulers, you know, present a problem because they're small loads. There's a lot of them, and so when you're setting the regulation of tons, you want those commercial loads to come in because you know they're kind of skimming off the cream, and so that's one of the things that Metro takes a look at. The one thing that kind of hand ties the private transfer stations is that they can't turn away any of the other haulers. They have to turn away, if anybody, they have to turn away their trucks and push them to Metro transfer station, as opposed to taking their trucks and then being open to the other trucks. So that's kind of a handicapping, if you want to put it that way, for the operation at these local transfer stations.
So it's to say that in plain language, Pride has to redirect their own trucks.
If we were
Yeah.
to charge.
If you're regional.
And so Metro has in their code that they are required to get at least 40% of the region's tons at their 2 facilities, Metro Central, South, and then they choose to allocate the remaining 60% amongst the private transfer stations. So what that makes up is essentially, and Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the 2 Metro facilities get about 200,000 tons between the 2 of them. And
Oh, they get more than that. They get a significant amount. In fact, I've got the tonnage forecast and I got the model here. And
about 70,000.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I think, did they come out with tonnage caps recently for you guys?
We're going through the allocation process currently for 2023. We have to
Okay.
bring those tons and make.
Okay. Yeah, and I've heard that I heard it also from Jason over at WRI. They said, we're hoping we can maintain our tons, which is, anyway, that's, I hope you guys get more tons.
Okay, next.
All right, so the adjusted 2020 results came in just a little under 12%. And one thing I got to point out, and I failed to do this last time, is that there is an adjustment in these results for the PPP money that Pride applied for and got. And when the feds forgave those loans, the haulers that received that were reporting how much they received in that. So that is a revenue that came in, and we recognized it over 20, 21, and 22. That's going away in 2023. So we recognized it over a 3-year period, so it wouldn't reduce or wreck the rates. So that's a revenue that's going away. And I will say, it's most of the haulers that did receive that revenue smartly invested it in equipment and trucks. So that's a good thing for the franchises. So anyway, the results for 2021 look good. And the other thing too that really made the results look good in 2021 is the fact that for a couple months in 2021, the value of materials, recycled materials, was very, very strong. And so if I recall, and Kristen, can you correct me? I think the last 2 months, Pride was actually receiving money for the recyclable materials. Well, that has since gone away, and we can talk about that, where the condition is right now for the recycling markets. But those two things, made these results look better than we anticipated for 2021.
So just to be clear, the 11.97% includes the PPP.
Yes, there's a PPP for the forgiveness of the loan, the amount that was allocated based on, and it was allocated across all the jurisdictions.
And just roughly what if that was not in that number, what would that percentage be?
I would say it probably bumped it up maybe 0.5%.
Bump it up?
Yeah.
It would be 0.5% down.
Oh, 0.5% down, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
All right. So looking at what the costs are, and from 2021 to this year and next year, it's a little challenging because times are a little bit unpredictable. So this year, Pride signed a new agreement with the Teamsters, as well as a couple of the other haulers. And so in year 2022, the increase in wages is up 6.25%, and it'll drop down just a little than 3% in 2023. Health insurance has remained flat. However, and that's for the drivers, but for everybody else, it's increased by about 7.5%. Disposal fees, just under 8% in 2022 and about 6% in 2023. Let me throw another caveat here. Metro is anticipating they're only going to see an increase in the regional system fee of $2. But I can tell you, looking at their internal rate model, that I expect that to be a lot higher. And so, right now we're expecting $2. If it goes higher, then there may be some additional pressure next year. Fuel is up 15%. The one thing the reason why it's not so significant this year is twofold. Number one, Pride uses compressed
Well,
natural.
Yeah,
So we've done all this already, so can we not repeat?
Okay. Oh, yeah. So here's the projected results for the upcoming year. With all of that in place, so we're looking under 7%.
Right?
All right. So there's two rate methods, or two presented. Status quo, which is the city ordinance, which, looking at the results that Pride reported, it's 75% of the CPI, which is a 5.24% increase. If we were the status quo, if you were just say city ordinance, that would be the rate increase. And this is for residential. However, what we presented last week, or excuse me, last month, was the rate review results, and that was with the implementation of the organic program. And so that's a little bit lower than just the blanket application of the CPI. So those are the two rate methods, using the ordinance, whether it's the scripted CPI or the rate review.
If I can clarify, the reason this is a lower increase, even though there's a program change, is because it takes into account all of those projections that Chris was talking about. So it's looking at the projections, and it's not just saying, let's look at the historical data and apply the CPI methodology. It's let's look at everything, do projections, and based on that, because we had a healthy year, it would actually be a lower increase.
detailed review versus just.
So that previous slide, can you go back there? We didn't have that last time, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's what was missing. Okay.
Correct. This is in response to both Mayor Mays and Councilor Rosner asked the question, hey, what if we just applied the ordinance?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so this would be the rate.
Okay.
Okay, next slide, next slide.
Okay, and so again, same application as Kristen was saying. The rate review looked at your rates for commercial, and we're expecting about just a little under 2.5% increase for those rates. Dropbox, a little bit more, and that's primarily due to fuel and the cost of equipment and trucks. And so this would be the increase for Dropbox hauls. And again, disposal is a pass through, so whatever the disposal is, the customer's invoice for the actual amount. And then our discussion last time, City Council made it very clear that they would like to see the current food waste program stay in place, and recalling that Metro is mandating that generators of over 1,000, and it should be food, over 1,000 pounds of food waste per week participate in this program. And so that would continue to be implemented, or continue to, there would be no change in the program as Pride is currently running the program.
Meaning those that use it pay, and we're not spreading it out over all the commercial.
Correct. And one of the things that you've got some large food waste generators that are paying right now. If you went to the subsidization, that means that everybody would be paying a part of their service.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Chris. Do you have a slide that shows what the increases would be if we don't do the composting option?
I don't have those. It was.
We all got it in our.
I know. I was just curious to get a slide for us to look at.
No, I didn't.
I think that's the status quo slide.
Mm-mm.
No, that's yeah. The status.
It was 2810, it would have been 2810 for 20 gallon, 3080, 40, 35, and 50.
So what's the about $1?
So back up, Chris, to that slide on yours that says that is with the 3.25%.
Right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, next one.
Forward,
That
that one. So if we didn't have the new programs, it would go 2810, so 35-cent difference, 3080,
So
40,
this-
35.
This slide
and 50.
includes the the new residential organics.
Yeah.
Correct,
Right.
and I explained the rates
It would be
for
about
thousands.
it'd be 35
It'd
to
be
50 cents.
35 to 60 cents.
So what's the percentage difference?
Yeah,
It was 1.27 and that one other email.
the other one would be, I've got the rates right here. So the 35-gallon cart would increase 65 cents instead of $1.05.
Okay.
So it's approximately a 2.2% increase.
So, on this point, what direction does council like? Do they like that composting with this or not composting with this?
Can I
I
ask
have a quick
what-
question for Pride. Do you get calls from customers wondering how to compost? Can we compost? How do we do it?
So the two most common questions I used to get were, I would like my glass more than once a month, which we resolved that a year ago. And the second most common question we get is, I want to compost my food scraps. When are you going to start that program in Sherwood? And so it's something we hear from a lot from customers that they would like to be able to participate, especially if they previously lived in Portland or Beaverton and moved here and used to be able to do it and no longer can. And this is essentially the direction that the region is going in. Soon, the only jurisdiction in Washington County that won't have this program would be unincorporated Washington County. And if Sherwood decided not to, Sherwood, but every city in the county that I'm aware of is moving in this direction. And unincorporated county has indicated they want to do it next summer with the free review process.
I like the fact that it's just in your existing, like the whole like separate bucket thing that Portland did, but I know part of that, I love this, so, and this is very minimal to me, and if our people want it, like it's a no-brainer.
For 35 to 60 cents, depending on your cart size.
So, kind of a bigger context question. How much, so Metro's forecasting their tipping fees basically to go up in the next 2 to 3 years, I think like 7% a year. How much of this rate increase is because of tipping fees? Because I'm thinking big longer term picture too, is we're gonna be hitting this every year with rate increases, and that's the only thing making me hesitant about adding this now is, what's that compounding effect look like?
The estimated impact, for the 35-gallon cart, with Metro's tipping fee increases every year about 7.2 to 7.7 cents is approximately 50 cents per customer per month.
$0.50 per customer per month, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every year, 50 cents every year, they raise those rates.
So, I'll ask again, do
I say yes.
I'd say yes.
I don't care. I'll
I'll,
never use it.
I prefer to go out to the community and ask the question in more, I understand you didn't want comments, that's awesome, but in a more productive way, I don't want to.
Taylor, what do you think?
I say yes. I know that we can't really control how Metro's going to raise their tipping fee, but I feel like this is an easy enough lift, and we can make people that want it happier, and the others, I don't think.
Well, if I could address the Metro piece as well, that is what they're projecting, and part of those projections have to do with raising the regional system fees to raise money to potentially build a very large, I would say, overkill transfer station on the west side.
Golden Station.
Yes, the Taj Mahal, as we call it. And so I think that I hear what Counselor is saying about we can't really control what Metro does, but I think, the engagement that you all have shown in discussing those things with Metro can have some impact and control on that long-term increase, because if they get pushback from local governments that a facility of that nature is not needed, then those increases should be less, which will assure residents and positive.
And it's not just the tipping fees, because part of those proposals, they talked about increasing the tonnage share to their facilities to pay for it. Have another, which would impact rates as well.
If they build a third facility, I can see that 40% minimum tonnage going up to 50 or 60%.
Which allows is that.
Okay, so it's pretty unanimous on this rate structure that's on the screen.
Okay.
Next question?
Next
So
program.
the next one is Recycle Plus. Kristen gets to talk now.
Yeah, so I have, for those in the room, kind of the postcard that has more detail on this program, but essentially we are also proposing to add an additional recycling program that would be optional for those who choose to participate. So this would not be an automatic rate increase to all customers in Sherwood. It would only be for those who choose to participate. And it would pick up 4 primary materials, which would be film plastic, which is like plastic bags, the bubble wrap, the material that comes around your toilet paper. Number 1, clear clamshells, which are generally the most common use of those is berry containers. So like the ones you have in front of you from your dinner are not clamshells because they're not hinged on one side, they're not totally clear, so they would not be allowed. So it's ones that are indicated with the number 1 and are true, they look like a clamshell, that's why we're calling
The
them.
food grade
Yes.
versions.
And then the 3rd item would be compact fluorescent light bulbs, and the 4th item would be textiles. And it's textiles, clothing, towels, linens, but it's things that are past donation use. We don't want to take things that could be otherwise given further life from donation. It's things that have holes in them, would not be usable by anybody else, that are really intended for disposal, but this would give them another life and they turn them into wiping cloths at the industrial level. So the proposal for this program would be, again, it's optional. Anybody who would like to sign up, the other side of the postcard has a photo of the bin, which I'm sorry isn't in this slide, but it is essentially the same bin that you use for your glass recycling, same size, but it's purple and it has a lid. The lid is because the materials have to be kept dry. And so the way this program operates in the jurisdictions we're currently doing it in is we provide clear plastic bags for those 4 materials. Customers who sign up pay a base monthly fee, and that base fee proposed here is $2.55. So if you don't have a pickup in the month, all you pay is that $2.55. If you do have a pickup in the month, there's an on-call pickup fee of $9.45. You could fill the whole bin with bags of clamshells. You could have some clamshells, some film plastic. You don't have to have like an equal distribution of those 4 materials. So far, the majority of what we've picked up in our other jurisdictions is the clamshells and the film plastics. Very low. We've picked up some bulbs. I think we've only picked up 80 pounds of textiles in the couple of months we've been doing it. So this is just kind of an add-on extra recycling service. And again, it's optional. Nobody has to participate. If they do choose to participate, they get the bin, they get the 4 bags, and they contact us either by calling or sending an email, or we have an online form to schedule pickups as well. It can be collected as frequently as their every other week glass collection, because we're doing it as we've added compartments on our glass trucks to be able to pick up those separate items. So anytime a glass truck is going down the road, the same truck would, when scheduled, pick up the purple bin, pick up a full bag, drop off an empty bag for the next pickup. So we're not adding more vehicles to the road, but it is possible that if this really becomes quite popular and we run out of space in those other compartments, we might have to look at another option for another vehicle, but so far we've been able to manage it with our existing fleet. And yeah.
Which jurisdictions have joined?
So far, Washington County started July 1st, King City started August 1st, Durham just voted to approve, they will start January 1st. City of Beaverton starts November 1st. And then there's a few others outside of Washington County that we will service. Gresham is discussing it, Clackamas County has approved it for the county and the cities. And I think 12 and also are in for early discussions.
So if they get picked up on the same trucks that are going down the street picking up the red class, why don't they just pick up the purple bin that's out instead of having to spend?
The main reason for that is because there is a charge that goes along with the pickup, and so it's, confirming the customer intends to have it picked up, they acknowledge there will be a charge for it, so there isn't back and forth about, well, you charge me for pickup and I didn't put my bin out on this particular day.
I left it out been sitting out there for 2 weeks, never done anything at it.
Yeah, and we have a similar structure for our on-call garbage service that exists in Sherwood, so customers that don't need weekly collection, they can do on-call with a 32-gallon cart. It's only available in one size, so not very many people can only fill 32 gallons. If you do it more than once a month, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But the same thing, those customers have
Only 2
I mean,
things
I
about a
like
lot
this
less
program, but
garbage.
the fact that I have to schedule it makes me not want to subscribe. I would subscribe if I could just put my bin out and they pick it up, so that's what I'm doing past schedule.
Yeah.
But I'm maybe not like this week, so.
Yeah, I know when Washington County did surveying before they rolled out their program on, how frequent would people need the service? Most people said they would need it no more than once every 2 to 3 months.
Sure.
So they felt like it was, we're gonna follow the Washington County model.
So if they're, why are the $2.65 a month if they have no pickup? Why the monthly?
It helps pay for the, admin costs to run the program, helps pay for the, bin, helps pay for the bags we have to provide, the truck to drive down the road, a small portion of that, so it's just the kind of just general admin costs.
It's also a little bit of a barrier to entry, right? You don't want everyone to sign up and then just have the bin sit in the garage.
Exactly.
Kind of a tracking.
It's a little bit like, hey, I really want this, so I'm actually willing to pay.
And that's part of why we set it so low as well, because it's intended to be a low barrier for entry.
Yeah.
And all this stuff, somebody did sign up, all this stuff can be dropped off at your current.
The only current exception to that is textiles, and that's only because I don't want to become the replacement for a nonprofit drop-off, and I haven't quite figured out the best way to manage that from a drop-off perspective.
But everything else free to take there except for the bulbs,
Yeah, the
right?
bulbs we do charge for, but we have since July been taking the clamshells and the full plastic for free.
And you can't put the big long 4-foot bulbs in there, right?
Right, just the compact ones, and that's really just more of a logistics piece of not having those be crushed or broken.
Yeah.
I have to imagine you're seeing a pretty significant drop off in CFLs. When everyone moved to LEDs.
Yeah, and we are
Started
in,
buying.
yeah, we are in communications with our light bulb processor about what it would take to add LEDs and incandescents to a program like this, and so we're, that's kind of the beauty of this program, is these things don't make sense to mix with mixed recycling, because they can't be sorted, or they break, or they get wrapped around machinery. But a program like this, we can go, oh, hey, we found a new market for recyclable A, and it's stable, and it's real, let's add another thing to the program. Or one of these markets went away, we no longer have a place to take it, we're gonna have to drop that off of the list because we can't responsibly recycle it.
You've got little footnotes on your website, if you're advertising this, say, hey, this is what we're currently doing, subject to change based on markets, might add, might subtract.
So a couple of questions. Who's doing the sortation? Are you guys sorting this, or is it going to a second tier recycler that's getting sorted?
So it's a bit of a mix. The film plastics are coming to us. We have invested in a baler, and so we're working directly with Trex, the decking company that will take that, turn it into composite plastic decking. The clamshells and the textiles, we are consolidating at our facility, and then we're working with Far West Recycling, which is one of our maple recycling processors that has the relationship with the textiles market and the clamshells market. And then the compact fluorescent light bulbs, because we've been taking those at our depot for years, like they go to the Universal Recycling Technologies, and Hopkins County also handles our e-waste, and so we're just rolling that into what we're already doing with the depot.
Sorting just plastic bags. Councilor Giles has his hand up, but I just had a couple more questions just real quick. So I'm okay with this program. I just want to make sure it's self-contained. So like if it really takes off and you have to buy additional trucks and stuff like that, those capital costs get accounted for in this program. So we don't are subsidizing.
Yes, and I totally agree. Our intention is to allocate costs to this program. So if this program needs a rate increase, only the customers who utilize it will see that rate increase, or a rate decrease. Nobody's subsidizing anybody.
Taylor?
So a couple of things. One is that with the marketing of this, I wasn't totally clear. I know you say in the same text there that it's optional. My concern would be people thinking it is not optional. One of the things I would love to see in that marketing is just re-highlighting, hey, this is optional, it's in response to requests, etc. But then also just what you said at the end of, and by the way, you could bring all of these to the drop-off point yourself, right? I mean, it's being really clear about that message will make it feel like, because if they don't think it's optional, then it feels like nickel and diming, that we're, we're just saying, hey, in order to recycle these, I don't want to put that out there. So if we could adjust the marketing a little bit on this.
Yes, definitely.
The comment, yeah, because if Johnny knows that, if Johnny drives by, right, every week or every day, just pulls in and throw his film in the film, then no charge, and great.
Well, especially for Sherwood, that's a great option because we're here, you know, some of our further out communities, it's not as easy, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we must go on Sherwood Road now for the next 3 days.
We don't want to be that either.
I'm in favor of it, because it's optional, and it's doesn't cost anybody anything who doesn't want to be part of it, so. If you want to choose to do it, you choose to do it.
Yeah, I'm in favor as well. I think you're gonna start seeing a lot more voting with a lot of the donation centers not allowing certain things coming in. I love that you added Spanish.
Yeah, I give this is Washington County's
Oh, okay.
credit, so I give them the credit for that, but
Great.
absolutely. And the other side of XMLs is the company that takes them is in North Portland. And they have our longstanding Pioneer Life Office, their name, and they do actually sort the material, and if it is still usable and worthy of donation, they do that. So, while we don't want people to use this as just dumping ground instead of taking it to donation, there is still, you know, a good chance that we'll make it to proper hands, and then maybe 5 years later end up there as a plot.
And one more thought on the marketing side of this. I know that they're probably already made, but sticking a picture like this on the purple package, just showing these are the types of things that go in here, would be key as well.
I like kind of a lid.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, we avoided doing that because we see this program as being a little bit more flexible than like, you know, your standard home and recycling cart has a sticker because that list hasn't changed in quite some time. You know, this list could change because we're adding things to it. And so there's a
Okay.
little bit of a challenge there, but.
And that's fine. I get that. I'm just saying there's oftentimes when I've held up a plastic and gone, is this on that list? It's not exactly one of those pictures. So
Yeah.
take it for what it's worth. I usually err on the side of recycling, but it's hard.
Thankfully, they have a great website that when I'm not sure, I go and it answers all my questions.
If I go out to the composting, I would.
So one last question for Chris.
Yes.
So next year, when we are doing our rate review, how do we keep this program separate? In terms of overall, you know, how does that play with the ordinance in terms of hitting goals?
Oh, it's actually pretty easy. And we get out of this here. And I'll explain why. Because I've been doing this over 20 years. There's only been one company that I've audited and everything's tied to the penny, and that was Pride, and that's because Cindy that's her style. So anytime I've had a question or any kind of explanation, I've always been able to get that information and it ties out. So I don't have any doubts whatsoever that they'll segregate this. And I've had discussions with Eric, the controller, on how they're going to do this. And so it's just a matter of.
The question is, I'm not concerned about audit issues or anything. It's more about if this program's losing money versus, you know, the other side's making money. We just want to be able to see that clearly separated.
Oh, yeah.
Considering rate increases.
Yeah.
That's all.
You've had the same question other jurisdictions have had too.
And we utilize Washington County's reporting format for what we send to the city of Sherwood. And so they will have the same concerns and they'll have a separate, here's your cost allocation and revenue for this program, so it will stand on its own.
Perfect.
We'll have another page on the detailed cost for recycled glass.
Yeah, I think there's what 3 pages.
In 2022, there's only a couple of months of it, so it'll be, I mean, I don't
Sure,
know.
it'll start January
Yeah.
1st.
So, but for the other cities where it started, there'll just be a few months of reporting, so it'll be somewhat limited, but in 2023, when we have a whole year for most of our jurisdictions, you know, we'll have a whole year of reporting and
If you write a story, because that kind of explains it.
It's a great idea.
If they have like free content, they take like a vacuum.
Right before then. Right before then.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Any other, so good support for that? No objection?
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anything else to do the order on garbage, recycling and composting?
I've got a question, Councilor Rosner. You brought up the issue with Metro. I know right now they're doing some long-term planning. And they're soliciting input from local government. I got an email from Mark over at City of Wilsonville. I will forward that to you because I think that if they're looking for representatives, I think you've been in this for quite some time. I think it would be beneficial for both the city and both from the point of view from regional government for you to be on that or participate in that.
Can you send that to the city manager? He can send it out to all of council.
Okay, I'll send, yes, I will send, okay, I will do that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else?
No.
Awesome. Then we will adjourn the work session, have a 7.5 minute break. Okay, council starts.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this will be